Hey, Margie here. Welcome to the Wake Up, Pray Up, Boss Up podcast, the show that helps Christian moms prioritize their physical and mental health so they can boldly step into God's calling. I'm your host, Margie Ruiz.
One of the most productive things you could do tonight is not answer another email, fold another load of laundry, scroll social media, or just check one more thing off your to-do list. One of the most productive things you could do tonight is go to bed. We live in a culture that glorifies hustle, but God designed us for rest. And today we're talking about one of the most overlooked health tools He ever created, sleep. Hey, Margie here. Welcome to the Wake Up, Pray Up, Boss Up podcast. Over the last few weeks, we've been talking about physical health. We started with stewardship, then breathing, then healing from the inside out. And today, we're talking about something that impacts every area of your life, sleep. Because you can eat perfectly, you can exercise, you can drink your water, you can even take your supplements. But if you're not sleeping, my friend, your body never gets the opportunity to fully repair, restore, and recover. And I learned this lesson the hard way. Before I went to Texas, I wasn't sleeping. I was going through one of the most challenging, stressful seasons of my life. And my mind just wouldn't shut off. I was exhausted. And I wasn't resting. I wear this Oura ring, which is awesome. It tracks your sleep and recovery. And it kept telling me, you have sleep debt. A lot of it. If you're not familiar with sleep debt, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's the accumulated effect of not getting enough sleep over time. And honestly, one of the reasons I stayed in Texas as long as I did was because my body needed rest, real rest. Not a vacation, not distraction, rest. It took weeks before my sleep normalized and my body started recovering. And what amazed me was how much better I felt when my body finally started sleeping again. My mood improved. My stress felt more manageable. My energy came back. My body started responding differently. And it reminded me of something important. Your body keeps the score. A few months ago, I interviewed a sleep doctor, Dr. Benjamin Long, on my podcast. And he said, your body keeps the score. Okay, maybe those were my words, but his point was similar. Sleep affects everything. Your brain, your heart, your metabolism, your mood, your memory, your immune system. In fact, the CDC says adults who regularly get less than 7 hours of sleep are at greater risk for obesity, diabetes, heart disease, stroke, and frequent mental distress. Sleep is not optional, it's foundational. Let me give you a little science of sleep. As I started researching sleep, I came across a statistic that stopped me in my tracks. Studies have found that after being awake for just 24 hours, your performance impairment is similar to having a blood alcohol level of 0.10%. That's actually higher than the legal limit for driving in the United States. Think about that. I hope none of you are drinking and driving. Yet many of us are driving around chronically sleep-deprived every single day, trying to make decisions, manage stress, lead our families, serve others, build businesses, and fulfill God's calling on our lives. Like I said, the CDC recommends adults get at least 7 hours of sleep each night. And many experts, they recommend 7 to 9 for optimal health. Yet roughly 1/3 of adults don't get enough sleep. That's a lot of tired people. Why does sleep matter? Sleep isn't just about feeling rested. Sleep affects your hormones, your metabolism, your immune system, your memory, your mood, your stress level, your ability to focus, your ability to make good decisions, your ability to lose weight. In many ways, sleep is when your body does the repair work. It's a night shift. While you're sleeping, your body is working, healing, restoring, recovering, preparing for tomorrow. And let's take it to God. What does God say about rest? One of my favorite verses about sleep is Psalm 127:2. He grants sleep to those he loves. Think about that. Sleep is a gift, not a luxury, not a reward, a gift. A daily reminder that we're human, and a daily reminder that we are not God. Every night, we lay down and trust that God can run the universe without us for 8 hours. I think many of us have forgotten that. We wear exhaustion like a badge of honor. We brag about how busy we are, how little sleep we got, how much we're juggling. But God never called us to run ourselves into the ground. In fact, from the very beginning, He built rest into creation. Not because He needed it, because we do. One of my favorite stories in the Bible is found in Mark chapter 4. You probably remember this. The disciples were freaking out because the storm is raging around them. The boat is filling with water. Everyone thinks they're going to die. And where's Jesus? Sleeping in the middle of the storm. I've thought about that a lot recently because sometimes the storm isn't outside of us. Sometimes it's inside us. Worry, fear, anxiety, stress. And maybe one of the greatest acts of faith is learning to rest while trusting God with what we cannot control. I also want to share something else Dr. Benjamin said when he was a guest on my podcast. He talked about how sometimes we become so frustrated by a sleepless night that we might miss an opportunity that's sitting right in front of us. Now, I'm not saying that every time you wake up at 2 a.m., God woke you up on purpose. Sometimes you're stressed. Sometimes you're anxious. Sometimes your hormones are just all over the place. Sometimes you're just having a bad night. But what if instead of immediately reaching for your phone, you reach for God? What if a sleepless moment became a prayer moment? What if instead of scrolling, you simply ask, Lord, what do you want me to know right now? One of the things he said that really stuck with me was this: the sleepless night can become an invitation to connect with God. And honestly, some of my most honest prayers have happened in the middle of the night. Not because I was trying to be spiritual, because I was tired enough to stop pretending that I had everything under control. Here's something I want you to remember. Rest is not a reward for finishing your work. Rest is part of the work. You don't earn rest. You need rest because the body God gave you was designed to require it. Sleep, like I said, helps with memory, learning, problem solving, creativity, decision making. In other words, sleep helps us think. If you're trying to discern God's direction for your life, if you're trying to make a difficult decision, if you're wondering what God is calling you to do next, maybe the answer isn't another podcast. Maybe it's a nap. Seriously. Because God does some of His best work while you're sleeping. Not because we're doing something, but because we're finally still enough to let Him. Dr. Benjamin also said, your spiritual life doesn't stop when your head hits the pillow. God is present in our waking, and He's present in our resting. That's why I believe sleep is more than just a health issue. It's a stewardship issue. It's a trust issue. And sometimes it's even a faith issue. Here are your 3 clicks for today. Click number 1, wake up. How much sleep are you actually getting? Not how much you think you're getting. How much are you actually getting? Can you track it for a week? Pay attention. Remember, awareness is the first step. Click number 2, pray up. Ask God, Lord, what am I carrying that is keeping me awake? What worry, what fear, what burden? What am I trying to control that I need to surrender to you? Click number 3, boss up. Choose one sleep habit this week. Maybe it's creating a bedtime routine. Most of us I know have a morning routine, but very few of us have a nighttime routine. But sleep isn't a light switch. Your body needs time to wind down. Go to bed 30 minutes earlier. Put your phone down before bed. Pray before sleep. How about cutting caffeine earlier in the day? Choose one thing. Remember, small actions repeated consistently create massive results. Friend, if you're tired, like really tired, maybe your body's trying to tell you something. Maybe it's time you stop pushing harder. Maybe it's time to rest. Because sleep isn't weakness. Sleep is stewardship. And a well-rested woman is far more prepared to step into God's calling than an exhausted one. If you're struggling with sleep, check out the interview with Dr. Benjamin Long. I'll link it in the show notes. Next week, we're talking about another simple but powerful foundation of health, water. Because you can survive weeks without food, but only days without water. And many women are walking around completely dehydrated and they don't even know it. Until next time, remember to wake up, pray up, and boss up every day. God bless. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. Hey, if you enjoyed the episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, shout it from the rooftops, leave a rating and a review, all the things. And to catch the latest from me, you can follow me on Facebook and Instagram at margie.gp6 or go to my website at margieruiz.com and make sure to sign up for my weekly newsletter. Thanks again. I'll see you next time. Bye.